you remain confident in XF? You remain confident in XF?
Oh, total.
President Trump.
Why do you even ask a question like that? We have recruitment that's at an all-time high. The spirit in the armed forces is fantastic. No, great confidence.
President Trump, you're sharing your message of what Secretary Hicks said, using Signal to discuss those military plans.
Are you bringing up Signal again? I thought they gave that up 2 weeks ago.
There was a new report this weekend that he used it in a separate chat that included some family members.
It's all just the same old stuff from the media. That's an old one. Try finding something new.
The president is such a reality TV show misfit. He thinks Pete Hegseth's scheduled scandals are like an episode of what we already watched last month.
So your thoughts on what's been reporting of Team Huddle and the Signal chat that the New York Times says took place between you, your wife, and your brother and some others?
So, Brian, if you remember when this all started, the first go-around, because this is the second go-around, right? They peddle old stuff, they kick it back up. I said repeatedly, no one's texting war plans. You know why I said that? Because I'm in the bowels of the Pentagon every single day. Just 10 minutes ago, I was looking at actual war plans of things that were ongoing or pending things to happen, because that's on a regular basis on classified systems. That's my job for the war fighters, for the President of the United States. I look at war plans every single day. What was shared over Signal, then and now, however you characterize it, was informal, unclassified coordinations for media coordination and other things. That's what I've said from the beginning. At the beginning, it was left-wing reporters from The Atlantic who got a hold of it and then wanted to create a problem for the president. This is what it's all about, trying to get at President Trump and his agenda.
Nothing about the reporting that he shared unclassified, detailed information about military operations with his wife, brother, and personal attorney. Just the same used car salesman pitch about it being someone else's fault and it being old news. But nobody's buying these amateur excuses.
Brian, I want this to be very clear. We take the classification of information very important. It's very significant to us that we safeguard it. And so when we had leaks, which we have had here, we did a serious leak investigation. And through that leak investigation, unfortunately, we found some folks that we believe were not holding to the protocols that we hold dear here at the Defense Department. Through that investigation, they have been moved on, and that investigation continues. As a result of that, everything we do here is above board, trying to make sure that we safeguard information. In this point, those folks who were leaking, who have been pushed out of the building, are now attempting to leak and sabotage the president's agenda and what we're doing. And that's unfortunate. It's not what I do. It's not how we operate. And so you've got another allegation being pushed again, not based on how we're operating around here. We're for the warfighters, we're for the president, and none of this is based in reality.
So it's the leaker's fault, not the fact that what's been uncovered about his continued use of the basic communications app Signal, but that he's been exposed again. And what makes this episode of The Real Assholes of the Administration spicy is that the guys they're throwing under the bus were loyalists to both Hegseth and Trump.
Totally direct with you. Did you leak classified information against the wishes of your superiors to media outlets?
Absolutely not.
Did you photograph classified material and then text pictures of that material to an NBC News reporter?
Absolutely not. And I have not spoken to an NBC reporter while at the Pentagon.
Do you know what you've been accused of?
No, I don't. Sitting here right now, myself and Darren Selnick and Colin Carroll, the other two individuals that were escorted out of the Pentagon, initially placed on leave and then fired on Friday, we have not been told as of this recording, one, is there what we were being investigated for? Two, is there still an investigation? And three, was there even a real investigation? Because there's a lot of evidence that there is not a real investigation. But again, sitting here right now, there are a lot of unknowns about this.
Dan Caldwell is one of those super Trump loyalists that quickly became collateral damage when top incompetent officials like Pete Hegseth needed to cover their ass. No matter how loyal and addicted to the agenda that these guys are, they'll never learn that when needed, they'll be characterized as their enemy real quick.
Darren Selnick and Colin Carroll are patriots. Let me talk about Darren a little bit. Darren's another person that worked with Secretary Hegseth for over a decade. He is somebody who's spent decades working around veterans and military health issues. He served in the first Bush administration at the VA. He served a critical role in the second the first Trump administration, he played a key role in ripping out woke and DEI nonsense from the administration. Darren was a key driver of that. And, you know,
so by your description of Darren Selnick, he
yeah.
doesn't sound like he is engaged in like the policy fights, or he's like some crazed ideologue.
Yeah, these guys are big-time MAGA loyalists. They believe in the same insular practices that MAGA is committed to pushing, despite the constant incompetence that it results in. Caldwell is such a loyal foot soldier, his feelings are hurt, and he can't even see that the people he worships couldn't care less about him.
Yeah, the problem with it is it's just a very serious allegation that you betrayed your boss and friend, Pete Hegseth, who you've worked with for like over a decade, who you supported from the very beginning. So you're being accused of betraying him, betraying the president, and committing a crime. That's a crime.
I wanted to try and hide this from my mom as long as possible because I was worried. She's a worrier. I love her to death. She's a saint. I didn't want to tell her. Then an hour later, somebody leaked to Reuters describing exactly what had happened to me. And then 6 hours later, they pulled the same stunt with Darren, and then 12 hours later, they pulled the same stunt with Colin. And so, you know, it's been devastating, and it's caused a lot of stress to my family. Just one thing I want to say is I've been a friend and supporter of Pete Hegseth for a long time, and I'm just personally devastated by this. It's just awful and whatnot, and
Yeah, this is sad. One of the guys that propped Hegseth up is devastated. Couldn't even bring himself to tell his mom about the charges of betraying unprincipled guys that he believed in. They're so close to noticing that they're putting all of their trust and ideology into the incompetent people. But since they believe in the same nonsense, their brains won't let them admit it. But I wonder if Caldwell saw Pete Hegseth toss a few more shelves of dirt on the grave of his career and possibly freedom after such a heartfelt interview that he had with Tucker Carlson.
Over the last few days, your senior advisor, Dan Caldwell, Darren Selnick, Colin Carroll, who is your chief of staff, deputy secretary of defense. The other one, Darren, is now former deputy chief of staff, were let go. Did you let them go?
Right. It was a result of an investigation ongoing at the Pentagon where we identified there was sufficient evidence, potentially, again, there's an investigation ongoing that will have to complete itself, sufficient evidence to believe that they or others near them were party to leaking.
So one of the people who work for you, one of the three who no longer are there, leaked this out as a way to get back at you?
That's right, Brian. When you dismiss people who you believe are leaking classified information, and again, the investigation is ongoing and that will take time, and when the evidence produced, it will go to DOJ, why would it surprise anybody, Brian, if those very same people keep leaking to the very same reporters whatever information they think they can have to try to sabotage the agenda of the president or the secretary? I don't have time for leakers. I don't have time for the hoax press that peddles old stories from disgruntled employees. We should be talking about the decimation of the Houthis, how we're pushing back the Chinese, how we have a new defense area at the southern border. Instead, disgruntled former employees are peddling things to try to save their ass.
Sounds like a well-oiled machine over there at the Pentagon. I mean, we've got conflicting stories, reports of a fake investigation, threats to send loyalists off to prison for leaking, and all the culprits claiming that their former buddies are involved in a campaign of covering their own ass. I guess this is what MAGA and the Trump administration call the golden age of America.
Have you been polygraphed?
no. I've never been hooked up to a polygraph machine since I've been in the Department of Defense.
Okay. Have you given up your private communications devices, your private phone, your phone?
No.
To anybody?
No.
Okay. So that raises the obvious question. I'm trying not to use the F word here because the lying is just driving me insane. You're being accused of leaking classified information, but the people accusing you would have no way of knowing whether you did that or not because they haven't polygraphed you or taken your devices, your private devices, correct?
I mean, there are...
You can't even
yes.
make the allegation because there's no conceivable way you could
let me
prove
just say,
that.
there are so many different things that would prevent me from doing the things that you've laid out. And again, I don't even know if that's what I'm really being investigated for. Again, if there's a real investigation.